Hello everyone. Um, I'm gonna start off right away because I have a lot to say. I started with the slideshow. Um, the first thing I thought was most important was the global systems perspective. Um, and with that, we're realizing that disasters are expected to happen no matter what we do. And these disasters are predictable because of the interaction between the environment, us, and the structures that we build. And I said, for example, we know that in a high scale earthquake, there will most likely be deaths because of buildings being destroyed that we built. And then I went on to US vulnerability, and which says our population is growing, and so are the structures we are building. And this means more people and structures will be affected every year. And we are also not doing a good job at educating society about the disasters that are happening and learning from past disasters. Of course, we are doing some, but we could obviously do more. And then I went on to the 4 theories of disaster. I thought this was the most interesting. First is acts of God, and it said in the early view, we pretty much thought God was doing this to punish us, um, and almost as if it was fate. And then later we started to learn that there's nothing we can really do about it, and it's just part of God's plan. And also allows us to deny responsibility. So if we had a part in it, we could just say, oh, it's God's fault. And then an act of nature is the next one. Pretty much Mother Nature, she's evil and it's all her fault. Um, and humans do not directly contribute to disasters. Um, Society and nature together is the next one. Disasters are caused by nature and the decisions of humans. For example, while natural disaster is to blame for destruction and harm, humans are also to blame when they knowingly stay within the area of disaster and are hurt or killed. So if you live somewhere and you know there's going to be an earthquake, most likely at some point, then you're directly somewhat responsible because you're living there. Um, my money point was the fourth one. This is my first money point. It was available human constructions. I didn't really feel like I learned anything about that. Maybe I didn't read it right, but pretty much what I got from that is um, maybe we create the disasters, and um, but they can be avoided. I'm not really sure. Um, but then now moving on to the chapter 2 reading, emergency management stakeholders. And these are the people that are affected by the decisions made by any policymakers and emergency managers. And I said, for example, what to do during an evacuation or the resources available to the stakeholders before, during, and after disaster. There are several levels of stakeholders, and it goes on and on. There's a lot. Starting with people in their homes and reaching up to a national and governmental level. Um, and then the next part, I talked about NGOs, NPOs, and CBOs, and that is non-government organization, nonprofit organization, and community-based organization. All of these groups are vary in size and all have different levels of resources. The book gives an example of the Salvation Army, which would be a larger scale NGO. Um, it has several programs in place, such as the United Way, that channels funds to those who need it the most during that disaster or after. Um, Another money point, um, there was a figure on power relationships among emergency management stakeholders. That was on page 41. Um, I understood the federal, state, local, household, and business aspect of it as we go up and down and up. But I didn't understand exactly what everything else around it was. There was arrows going everywhere. Maybe I didn't read it correctly, but um, I don't know. It was kind of confusing, to be honest. Um, and then I went on to uh, policy entrepreneurs, and these are the people that fight hard to keep a certain policy relevant to make sure it stays on the people's agenda. Um, and they can be from all walks of life. They can be a business owner, they can be a teacher, um, or they can just be an interested citizen, as it said. Um, so, for my question for this week, uh, it's based off the 4 theories of disaster, which I had said before I thought was the most interesting. My question is, what major factors do you think led us to realize disasters are not acts of God? Also, any ideas on why some people still believe this today? And there are still people who believe that um, things that happen are directly because of God. And a good example would be the Westboro Baptist Church and blaming pretty much everyone, anything, I should say, that happens, bad happens because God did it because to punish you, pretty much. So there still are people that are like that, um, and obviously don't look more into the social aspect of it. So that is my video for this week. If you have any more questions, please just let me know. Goodbye.